All right, you guys, we're back on our Cypress project, okay? For anybody that's just now tuning in, this is part 5. You can watch 1 through 4 on our page and catch up to this point. Tell y'all this, normally if we would have had this project out the gate, we were doing this project from scratch all the way to the finish. We would have went about things totally different. This was a redo. The gentleman that had this has had it for about 6 years. Somebody along the line had done some work to it with some resin. It all had to be, gotten back out and basically start over. And this is where we're at. I've already explained why this has been painted black. It helps to clog the pores down in these cavities. And it's going to make all the black the same color. And again, it's got to look ugly for it can look pretty. So in doing so, this actual first coat of black has done its job. Now we're going to move on to the next part. This is where it gets really crucial. There's some things we're going to go over with today. We're going to get started in bringing this back to life. Here's some of the things we're getting ready to do and use. First off, the resin we're going to be using on this particular stage is going to be tabletop resin. So it all stems back to the black that we've already put in. The original resin that went into this top, we figured out was tabletop resin. But it went in here in a lot of these slits too deep, and it caused the top 1/8 or so of an inch to cure, and it caused everything underneath to not cure and be gooey. So in digging all this out through the process, we had to be careful how far we go, because we could end up punching through to the other side, and then it would be hard to do everything we need to do up here on this side. We would have to build a box and trap all this from leaking at that point. So we had zipped down into the wood as far as we could go. 70–80% of it, we made it all the way through. Some of it, we ran into the old color that was used, and we could not go any deeper from risking to punch through. So that is why we blacked everything out for when at the finish this goes through the planer. It's all going to be the same black color revealed. It won't be differences in the black. So that was part 1 of what we were doing. Now we're going to move forward, and we're going to mix up some tabletop resin. We're going to show you that, show you how to go about it. And we're going to mix some limousine black metallic pigment in with it. This is going to make all this dark in these caves, in these little trenches here. It's going to make all this come to life like 4K Ultra. But we're not going to fill them up. We just want to slick them up. Whatever the paint missed from the holes, from the little cavities that you can't see where the wood is still breathing, this is going to clog this 100% at this point. So these are some things you're going to need. We need some artist brushes to get down in these hard to reach places. We need some foam brush for all the bigger gashes where we can be quicker with getting through there. So a variety of little things right there, and this is probably the most important one we need. The little bit of tabletop resin we're going to be mixing up cannot sit here in our container. It will heat up too quickly, and it'll generate too much heat before I have enough time to do what I'm doing. Now, we have a 40-minute working time with our resin. Your resin might be different. Tom, these brushes almost stay on the table. Your resin might be different. Ours is a 40-minute working time from the minute we're done mixing and pour it out. That's why it can't stay in the container. So we've got an old plastic Tupperware lid. This is perfect. It's going to allow a lot of volume to pour out at a very thin ratio, and it's going to act like a paint tray for me so I can come through and dip. I've got a 40-minute clock that I'll be setting so that I won't be dipping bad resin and putting it into the product. So we're going to cut ours off probably at 30 minutes. If I'm not through the project in 30 minutes, we'll whip up another quick batch just to make sure everything cures correctly. So let's get started. All right, you all, so we're at our mixing portion. So let me tell you this, we are mixing up a very, very small, we're only gonna mix up 16 ounces, okay? Tabletop resin is a 1-to-1 ratio, so we need 8 of the hardener and we need 8 of the resin. In our situation, always read your container. Our manufacturer says right here on the container, always pour part B first, then pour part A in. So make sure, read your container, whatever you're using. This is our tabletop resin. We're using a digital scale set on fluid ounces. And as you can see, it says negative 1.39 because I've already did the tare weight on our cup. When we set that on there, we're setting at 000. The reason you want to use this digital scale with very, very small increments, such as 16 ounces, is because when you are off ever so slightly with this little bit of amount, it will make the difference of whether or not this will cure correctly, mix correctly, and all those things play a role. So we need to be definitely on point the smaller we are with our ratio. We're just going to use a popsicle stick along the way. Go ahead and show you here. The cool thing about the first one with the hardener is we're going to shoot. We're not paying attention over here. I'm looking at the digital scale. I don't care what this says. So I'm going to try to hit this 8 on the money. If I go over a tad, that's okay. Just make sure to go over equal with the other. So I'm going to get started here. It'll come out a little fast, and as you can see, we're starting to move. You don't want too much coming out too quick or you won't be able to control the stop. So we're going to slowly creep on up here. Once I get closer to the 8, about the 7, then I start to slow my flow down and creep on up to the 8, because you can see how rapid fast that is. See, now you can see we've slowed way down. So now I just want to adjust my flow a little bit and then just try to stay consistent. It takes a little bit, this last little part. You don't want to go too quick and rush too fast or you'll jump way over your mark. Once I get close, now look, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because see, when you cut it off, it still has to take its toll. Now we're 0.4 short right now. I'm going to put that 0.4 in there. And let me tell you this, we do this a lot of times. Instead of pouring, this is how crucial this is. Instead of pouring that, tip this over, dip a popsicle stick down there and leak that little bit in there. It's a lot less than the first big initial gulp that falls over. That could send us right over our mark. It don't matter on the first one. See, watch this. Now see that? That stream is very small, and now I can quickly get away as it goes in. 97, 99, I look, boom, instantly. Look at that. Instantly I can take the flow away, where when it was in the container, if I instantly stopped the flow, I would have spilled that all on my table, on my scale, everything. So that's just a cool little trick there to get us right on the money. So now we're going to do the same with part A, and then we're going to bring it right back, start mixing it, and we're going to show you exactly what to look for. All right, come here, check it out. Bam, what'd I tell you? So that popsicle stick is a cool little trick to get that last little bit, man, so you don't run over. The closer you can get that to perfect, the better. Now, we are going to stick our little popsicle stick in here. Go ahead and shut that down. And now, we get this question a lot when we're mixing, okay? Slow and steady is how to do it. You don't want to be whipping everything real fast. But we get this question a lot. How do you know exactly, okay? Because a bigger batch is a lot more time than a smaller batch and so on. Well, how do you know exactly when the correct time is to pull it out? It's not a sight thing. It's not a time thing, okay? Times vary per state, temperatures per state vary, temperatures per room vary. The way you know for where you're at and how to stay accurate every time is a heat gun. We don't have no timer set right now. I'm not worried about this mixing. I'm going to point my heat gun right in there and show them, Tom. I'm at 69.7 degrees. With tabletop resin, the closer you are to 80, that's perfect temperature. 78, 80, all the way up to 85 even. Perfect temperature. Mixing it, consistency, it's thoroughly mixed. Right about 80 degrees is what we target. When that temperature tells me that this is sitting at 80 degrees, then it is thoroughly mixed and we are ready to go. Usually at that point, it is completely crystal clear. You will see the bubbles from the mixing, from the chemical reaction, but completely transparent. You're able to see the bottom of your stick. So we'll bring y'all right back when we get closer and show you. All right, so we are approaching what I call the halfway mark. And I want to show you. Oh, tear up everything, huh? I want to show you what's going on real quick. So with the temperature, this is how you know, wherever you're at in the world, this is how you know when this is mixed thoroughly and correctly. So come here. See where we're at. We've climbed now from whatever temperature that was a second ago on the video. We're about 74.5, okay? Remember I told you 80, 85, somewhere in there is more than fine. So this is what we call the halfway point. We started around 69 degrees. Okay, 70, 70 and a half, 70.4. So we started there, we went up 5 degrees. This is a perfect time, halfway, 70 to 80, 85, about halfway. This is a perfect time to put in our pigment, right at the halfway point. We're gonna use the little tiny 1/4 teaspoon. I only want one of these, and I'm gonna tap it flat, something like that, okay? Right in. Now, all I'm gonna do, I don't wanna introduce air into the mix, but as soon as I start to stir this, it's gonna cling to the sidewalls. Let it go ahead and cling, and then just come back and scrape your sidewalls. I don't wanna pick the stick up and force it in there. So as I start to turn, I'm gonna bust up the powder, letting as little as possible work out to the sidewall, but you don't wanna wait too long to grab it, because with that little bit of resin, it'll start wanting to lock onto it quick and stay. So look. Look at my container as it's going around. All the black is coming off the sidewall. Once it's all off there decently, then go back to mixing. We're just going to do this now and allow this temperature to come on up to 80 degrees. So whatever the time frame is, it doesn't matter. 80 is our magic mark that we're going to dump this out and get to work. All right, so look at this right here. See how we're at 78? We're kind of sitting still, 0.1, 0.2, 0.4. So it's gradually going up, okay? So we're at a good spot right now. You don't have to wait right for 80 degrees. That's just a good target area. For what we're doing, having all this sit in kind of like a paint tray, this is perfect. So 78, 80 degrees right in through there. Normally we would take tabletop resin and we would be pouring it over a surface. We would want to be 80, 85. It just allows a little bit less working time, but it's gonna push and, you know, flood coat everything like it's supposed to. But this is a seal coat, so it's not a flood coat. So we're gonna go a little bit cooler. We're gonna go ahead and pour this out. And again, the reason I'm pouring this out, look, let me show you. Look down in the cup. Look at how black that is. Now look, when I scrape off, look how it turned the paint stick a tint, but you can still see it's a paint stick. That is why we blacked all this out, because if there's a bald spot, you'll see the wood shine through. That is exactly why we blacked all that out. So look, now I'm gonna take this and we're gonna put this out here into our little paint tray, not too thick, about like that. That is more than enough. We're going to set this a little bit to the side here in case we need any more. This is where my 30-minute clock starts. I have my paint tray, and I want to show y'all. Tom, if you want to come right over here. I'm going to start with a couple of bigger gashes. We're going to have to move through this kind of quickly so that we don't have to mix up another batch. The reason we dumped all this out into a wide, big container like this is so the resin is cooling now. It is not sitting here generating heat, and it's going to, start smoking and cause a fire. So now I just dipped a little bit. I want to get this good and wet with the black before I put it in here. And you only want a paintbrush worth, a coating, just like that. You can feel when this stuff starts to get dry. It doesn't matter what you get on the surface either. We're going to send this through the planer. So this is what you're wanting to do, okay? We're slicking this up, just like this. This is going to help trap any bubbles that we can't see. And this is going to also act like a bond for the casting resin that we're going to be putting in. Now, we'll go over all that as we do it. I don't want to jump the gun right now. Also, let me tell you a benefit to doing this. We think, we're not 100% sure. We think all these are sealed shut. We don't think none of these are actually going through to the bottom. This is going to help seal this shut in case there's a pinhole down there that does go to the bottom that we can't see. So this is what you're wanting to do. All the bigger ones are going to get the foam brush. Okay, you don't want to leave any volume in there. You don't want to fill it up. So if you got a little extra, just dip down in there and put it somewhere else. You're just looking to get all these nice and coated and filled up. So we're going to get all this wrapped up, and then we'll bring you all back so we can show you what it looks like. All right, you all, I'm trying to, here, let me zoom out a little bit here. There we go. That way you can see the whole thing. You see what Tom's doing. You see what I'm doing. You see the difference. So there's everything on the right. We haven't done everything on the left. I was just trying to show you. Look at how much I got there. Okay. And I'm going to set that right down in there and shove here in the back. The object here is to clog. Just a clog. See, just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do a, an even little coat here right over the surface. Just to help seal anything there on the edge, any of that. That's all we're trying to do. All these are open. They're just all sealed. Okay. Bring you right back when it's done. All right, so as you can see, looks totally different now. So everything is what we call slicked up. You can see all the different things we use. We just put them back over here in the tray. No big deal. This is all going to harden in there, and then it'll all pop out like one big circle. But we just wanted to show you. So a lot of benefits to slicking this up. Now you can see that that black really fired off and showed itself. It's here no matter how you look. But none of this is filled up at all. It's just a coating to clog the pores, to enrich all the black and make it come out the same color. And we're actually using this as a bond for the casting resin. Meaning, when this sits here about, we're going to show you here later on. So this is just our first seal coat. We're going to seal this again, 2 seal coats, because we don't want any problems with bubbles, breathing, warping, anything of that nature. So 2 times, 2 little 16-ounce mix-ups. You can see that it's way more than enough, but you got to have enough resin there to mix. So we don't want to get in too small, not enough mixing up. It can mix incorrectly. So we got all this finished. We're going to let all this sit here. What you're looking for is a couple hours from now. This is going to be to the point. Now, you want to have a glove on when you do this. Don't do this with your finger because your finger has oils on it, and you'll get the oils to touch that, and it will contaminate that. So put a glove on, and one of your big open valleys here, take your glove, stick it in there. You should hear that sound, and you should feel the tension from pulling back away. The trick is when you know you're ready for the next seal coat, you'll do that you'll get that sound, but you won't have a bunch of resin on your black glove or whatever color your glove is. You won't have any resin on there. You'll get the sound. So that means that the bond is ready. It's ready to receive the next seal coat. And because it didn't come off in your glove, it's not going to, once we seal that again, start forcing anything up. So in other words, the next seal coat we do, we're going to use that seal coat for the bonding agent of our casting resin. When it's at the correct point, we'll fill that up. And normally, if you didn't wait long enough on the tabletop resin, if you do that little trick and you get resin on your glove, when you feel that pull up of volume, that is enough to break through your seal coat and start pushing into your casting resin. That is the whole point. You want to wait till you get but nothing's on the glove. That is the perfect time. Now, our resin, up to 24 hours, none of this has to be sanded for an additional layover. After that, it would have to be sanded. That's why we're using this to our benefit, because we're not about to sit here and scuff all this up just to get a bond. We're going to use the resin to make the bond. That way we don't have to dig into all these. So that's it. We'll bring you guys back for part 6. The next one, we'll do another seal coat. We'll move on with the casted resin, and this sucker's getting ready to be banging. We're going to be seeing Joel here later on, taking this to the planer. So as usual, stay tuned. We'll keep y'all updated. See you back on the next one.